Good afternoon and welcome to our second segment on the Bank Windhoek Agriculture Series. And this afternoon, the topic we talk about organic agriculture and nutrition and food security in Namibia. This follows a morning session which looked at regenerative management practice, farming management practice, excuse me, which was very insightful. And if you missed that, it's on the Bank Windhoek YouTube, so check that out. Coming to you live from DB Audio Studios in Windhoek. This is the Bank Windhoek, of course, Agriculture Series, brought to you in collaboration with the GIZ, Namibia Nature Foundation, and the Namibia Organic Association. Welcome to all who have tuned in. My name is Maria Emmanuel, and I'm your moderator for this series. I encourage all of our viewers to please engage us by giving your questions, following the discussion and giving your questions on our Facebook. And by the end of all the presentation, we will then allow all the speakers to handle that and engage you. The topic we'll be focusing on this afternoon is organic agriculture and nutrition and food security. To shed more light on this very interesting topic, I'll now turn to our speakers. I have 4 interesting speakers, beautiful presentation this afternoon. And our first speaker will be Ms. Manjo Krige. She's from the organic industry expert and deputy chairperson of the Namibia Organic Association. Mr. Eckhart, chairperson of the Namibia Organic Association. Mareike Fox, she's the organic certification expert, and Ben Schernick, director of the Nutrition and Food Security Allies of Namibia. Welcome, but before we get into the presentation, I want to give a brief background of who you are. Ms. Manjo, you are the Country Project Manager, Knowledge Center for Organic Agriculture. You are also the co-founder of the Namibia Organic Association and was World Board Member for IFORM Organic International. Eckhart is the owner of a farm, Oliphant West, yes, in the Bloemveld area, right? Where you have been farming since 2006. You have also been producing organic livestock and vegetable since 2015. Mareike is a producer of organic vegetables. She's a board member of the Namibia Organic Association and also holds an organic agriculture and masters in sustainable international agriculture with focus on organic agriculture, right, from the university here in Germany. And then, of course, Ben is a registered social worker with over 12 years experience in consulting, process facilitation, and project management in the context of civil society, academia, private sector, and government in Namibia. Welcome to all our speakers this afternoon. All of you have made quite good stride contribution within the organic farming, converting farming practices and trying to come up with smart agriculture, sustainable agriculture. It has been also proven to the world that food security in any country can be attained by using organic and sustainable food production, which obviously will lead to optimum nutrition benefits. So, Ms. Manjo, I want to start with you. I know you have started way back with the Namibia Organic Association. And I want you to highlight to us since then, what have you what has the industry achieved, what has happened, what is happening in Namibia, and what is really, really the importance of having an organic industry as a country. So please, I hand over to you.
Thank you, Maria. Yeah, I think we all know we are really going through a difficult time in agriculture due to the drought. And it's really a good time to re-look at how we produce our food, especially given the lack of natural resources here in Namibia. And we can also look at what products we are producing and for which markets we are producing. Because over the last 15 years, there's been really an international change in the demand for organic agriculture. Often we thought, no, it's just going to be a phase, but if you look at the growth statistics, it's really increasing all the time, and that is really a great opportunity that I want to share today. Because if we see that even in this difficult period, there's a lot of opportunities, and so if we look at the statistics that I can show you here, the demand for organic products increases all the time. At the moment, it's about €97 billion market. And the North American market is actually the biggest share. And if we look at the countries, basically, who are the people that are actually buying most of the organic products, we'll see United States, they have the biggest market share with about €40 million. And then all the other countries are European countries, so it's Germany, France, Italy, Canada, Switzerland, UK, Sweden, and Spain. And then we have China as well as a really big developing market at the moment. Now, what is interesting is to look at this growth that we see in all the markets and very, very prominent in the United States, where the demand for organic certified products are just growing all the time. Now, this is really an exciting graph if you talk to your bank manager and tell him you're going to start producing organically, because we know that the demand for food will always be there, but even for organics, it increases all the time. So if we look at the reason why, there must be a reason why this graph is just going up and up. And we find one of the biggest reasons is actually health, human health. People are really concerned about cancer-causing pesticide residues in the food. They really want to avoid any genetically modified organisms in the food. And antibiotics is actually quite a big issue in international production systems where antibiotics are used in factory farming or feedlots to maintain the health of the animals. And that is posing a big medical problem for us where people are actually getting resistant against antibiotics. And then growth hormones, that's also really an issue for consumers. So what consumers really need and what they want is actually nutritious, high-quality food, and that is produced ethically. And the taste is also useful. But also we see specifically in this COVID-19 situation, we need food that actually improve our immune system as well. And then, the health component is one big one. And then the other component, we see that there's a lot of people that are really concerned about animal welfare. So in organic agriculture, we only do free-range animal production. And the other component is nature and the environment. The impact on climate change is really making a difference in what people consume and where they buy their products from. They're concerned about the environmental pollutants all over around them, and we can see about the international decline in biodiversity is really a big issue. Just all the insects are just declining drastically just due to all the chemical inputs that we are using in agriculture. So these market drivers continues to increase the demand for organic agriculture, and that is then really an opportunity for us. So if you look at this slide, it talks about how many organic agricultural producers there are in the world. Well, when I started a number of years ago, I think I was one of the first 5, but now I'm part of millions. As you can see, there's about 2.8 million producers worldwide, out of which India's got the highest number of producers, and these are small-scale producers really producing for the local market and the export markets. So you can see that growth in the number of organic agricultural producers worldwide, and that really goes with a lot of support from governments and educational institutions that actually makes it possible for you to study organic agriculture. Now, if we look at the organic farmland, you can also see this steep incline. And so the world is 71.5, let's say 72 million hectares of organically certified land. And interesting, Australia, they've got 35 million. And I guess that would be really an indicator of the opportunity in certifying rangeland for organic livestock production. So the other countries with a lot of land available for organic agriculture is Argentina, China, Spain, Uruguay, France, the US, Italy, India, and also Germany. So these percentages are still quite small, but we see that the increase is really quite dramatic. So for Namibia, what does this mean? It means that there's this international demand for organic certified products, and there's a local demand for organic certified products. And it just increases all the time. So we can make use of this opportunity and produce for this market, which also happens to be good for the environment and the health. So one of the local opportunities, really, we need animal feed. We have organic producers that really want to have organic certified chickens, and there's just not certified animal feed available. So I'm talking about maize or mahangu or sorghum, sunflower seeds, everything that you can mix into an animal feed. So this is obviously a perfect opportunity for small-scale farmers to participate in this market value chain as well. I think we all know that our organic meat is almost organic, and Ikki will talk about that later. But that is really a niche market product that we can look at exporting to the rest of the world. And then I think the key thing for us to consider as producers is to look at drought-tolerant, highly nutritious alternative crops, because there's this increasing demand in pulses, in sorghum, in millet, seeds, and specifically like oils like sesame. And these crops can actually flourish in an environment where we don't have a lot of moisture. So what is happening internationally is that a lot of people are switching away from protein produced in factory farms, and they switch to plant-based protein. So the demand on all these legumes and the other pulses are just increasing, and obviously the people want it to be organically certified. So that is really something that we can consider in Namibia, because we do maize and a little bit of wheat. It's not yet sufficient for the local market, but that is really something that we consider in diversifying for the organic market. Now there's another big component. The first one is really about money and market access and opportunities. And this is really about, the next point is, why on earth would you want to go through the trouble of learning about organic agriculture and adopt new practices? So the best study that I can refer to, and we can also make this available online, is the Rodale Farming Systems Trial in Northern America. They've done this for 30 years, where they compared organic and conventional agriculture. And the great thing about this study, it's really relevant for Namibia as well, in terms of the crops that are being produced. And if you look at the results, it's really fascinating. The depth of this research really shows how, what are the benefits of organic agriculture to a farmer, to the land, and to the environment. And the first thing is that was really standing out is that the organic yields match the conventional yields. But I think the most important thing here for Namibia showed that in the years of drought, the organic production completely outperforms the conventional systems. So this is really an opportunity for us to look at adopting these practices. Then we also see that the energy usage in the organic production system is a lot lower, which means that you save a lot of costs, and that these systems are more profitable than conventional on the long term. And it's not really only because of a higher price received in the market for the products, it's also because of a reduction in costs in the inputs. And we see this reflected in quite a number of international studies. For instance, CEChem did a study in Egypt where it clearly shows that your input costs for organic can actually stay the same or decrease over time, depending on your mixed farming system. Where with conventional agriculture, it increases all the time because you're really dependent on external inputs. So if we say, why organic agriculture for Namibia? Well, we don't have a lot of water. And if you practice organic agriculture properly, it really makes a difference. So organic is part of the solution. In 2015, the world came together and we developed the Sustainable Development Goals. And if we look at that, food production and consumption have either a massive direct positive or a negative impact on these goals. And organic farmers are really the heroes because they don't use harmful agrochemicals. They don't damage the environment. So it's really supporting all these SDGs, which we want to achieve as the world. So our message is be part of the solution and support the SDGs. And this is just an example where we say, you know, there's this increase in demand internationally, and one of the reasons is also advertising campaigns. So this is an advertising campaign that was actually developed by Nature and More, and where it brings down to consumers in the shop to say, if you choose organic, what is the difference? So the first one says, if you buy organic avos, then you will save fertile soil. And then there's a whole study that you can actually read on the internet why that is the case. Or if you buy organic grapes, and I know that they import quite a lot of organic grapes from South Africa, you actually save water. And also, if you buy organic pineapples, then you save so much amount of greenhouse gases in that balloon, if you can imagine that. So it brings down the concept of the benefits of organic agriculture to the environment, and it directly links it to consumers making those choices, and then see how they can actually benefit the environment by making good purchasing decisions. So this is really the opportunity for us in Namibia to look at. There's this huge international market. There are opportunities to adopt organic agricultural practices that we need to do because we just don't have enough water in Namibia. And yeah, so that, Maria, is basically my whole message.
Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. Key takeaway, energy, less water, and of course the market is very big.
Yeah.
So we can do domestic, we can do international.
Yeah.
And of course, as a country, I always say we are small, so we need to position ourselves in a niche market. The niche market is organic market.
Exactly.
So thank you so much for that. I would like to remind all our viewers that they should please engage us with questions on the Facebook or on the YouTube. And at the end of this session, our speakers, after they do all their presentation, will then tackle those questions. I want to come back to Eckhart. You are an organic producer, and of course, being the chairperson of the Namibia Organic Association, you can add great value to our discussion today. So maybe take us through how would one start about producing organic in Namibia?
Thank you, Maria. My journey started about 5 years ago. There was an event in Okahandja where I actually met Manjo and was exposed to the organic idea. Always had an interest in ecology and how nature works, but I think that really started a learning curve and an experience that continues to this day. And looking at organic agriculture, we have to consider the 4 principles of organic agriculture. It's a principle of health, not just the health of us humans, but also of the animals that we farm with, or the health of the plants that we get our fruits from, for example. Ecology, organic agriculture is based on science. This is not a surrogate religion. This is science. We are learning about nature day by day, learning about the integrated microbiology that's happening within our soils and even within us humans or animals. Fairness, we need to be fair to the land, we need to be fair to the animals and the plants that we are working with, because if we're not fair to them, we will put our future at risk. And we need to care about the living things that we are working with and that actually provide us with our food. These principles are really the roots of organic agriculture and providing food security for the future. Organic agriculture is all about the soil. If you look at the soil, the first 20 centimeters for our bushes and trees, up to 10 meters, it's an amazing array of different kinds of microbiology that's happening down there. We have fungi, we have bacteria, we have yeasts down there. These things are working in interaction with the roots of the plants that actually provide food to us humans, but also provide food to our animals that we work with. The soil has to be high in organic matter. This helps with the water retention ability of our soil. When our rain falls, these are short events. Looking back at last year's rains that finally came, this water pours down 50 millimeters of rain at one time within 3/4 of an hour. What happens with this? Much of it is evaporating. We've got hot air in Namibia, and much of it also runs away, or it infiltrates our soil. But if we have good carbon-rich soil with a lot of organic matter, we actually create a spongy area in which plants can grow. And this spongy area retains moisture for a very long time, making our soils more drought resistant. So this living thing that is growing from the soil, the plants are actually the basis of growing good, healthy food. How do we build soil fertility? We have a good tool chest of options available, and they are scalable. You can do this at home in your garden. You can do this on your farm with your vegetable garden, which you produce fruit and vegetables for the markets. But we can also do it on cropland, where we produce some of the products that are required worldwide. So here's a couple of options: green manuring with mixed plant varieties, including nitrogen-fixing crops. The pulses that Manjo was talking about are bean plants, legumes. They take the nitrogen from the air and put it back into the soil through an interaction with nitrogen-fixing bacteria. Then we have the option of agroforestry with nitrogen-fixing trees. Namibia is really rich with a lot of acacias. Acacias are tree legumes, so these plants are actually helping to fix nitrogen into our soils and make it available to the animals, but also to the grasses. We can use cover crops when we grow, let's say, maize or sorghum or millet. And with a good crop rotation system, you're actually continuously changing plants season after season, ensuring that there is not a leaching of the soil, taking away only the valuable parts of the soil, but actually putting back into the soil. And of course also mixing crops so the plants are interacting with each other and growing a really good environment in which plants can prosper. Tillage is one of the big problems. For 150 years, with a lot of diesel being spent at it, peoples have always tilled their land, and they're actually destroying the microbiology that's happening underneath our feet. So if farmers stop tilling, they will actually over time increase the productivity of their soils. In your home garden, what you can do, you can use compost or compost tea. Basically, a compost tea is you actually leach part of the liquids and give that back to your plants. Earthworms are a wonderful way of actually creating a better soil for your plants as well. One of the big issues for people starting out with organic agriculture and growing vegetables and fruit at home is, how do I deal with pests? I mean, this year we've had a lot of locusts swarming in the northeastern parts of the country. This really seems to be a big problem at first. But this is just nature really trying to get back into a balance between what is too much and what there is not enough of. So when we look at these systems, we have to take a very holistic approach in order to ensure that we keep the health of the soil and the things that live off and in it in mind. We do have to grow our vegetables by being preventative. The healthier your plants are, the better they're actually armed to deal with pests, to deal with diseases. And you do have, as an organic farmer, you do have a tool chest available. There are some pesticides and fungicides available, which are biologically certified or organically certified. But I can tell you from my own experience, many of these pesticides which I had to use in the beginning, where I felt I had to use some input in order to get things back into balance, I've slowly taken my hand away from this and stopped using them. As the soil is getting healthier, you don't have to use these inputs any longer. You can and have to work actually with predatory nematodes, for example, or predatory wasps. There are different types of insects. Not every insect is a bad thing, quite to the contrary. You can use things like pheromone traps, or use crops that are strong attractors to these harmful insects. So learn about the ecology in your garden and utilize what is available, provided by nature. We have, as farmers, have to stop looking for chemical approaches to these things and let nature take back control of the natural cycle of nutrients. I was a livestock farmer first. When I started my farm in 2006, I started with a herd of cattle from my father and my brother. And we have a real benefit here in Namibia that we've got wonderful genetics. We've got some local animal breeds, cattle breeds, but also sheep breeds that work very well with the local grasses, with the local bushes and trees. These animals are well adapted, and they are parasite resistant, and most importantly, they're fertile. Our animals need to be able to express their natural behavior. They are free-range animals, they have herd instincts, and we need to let them do their thing in a way. They want to be able to express their natural behavior. One of the big criticisms of people no longer wanting to consume meat is that the animal welfare is not being taken care of. And if you look at livestock farming in Namibia, we're so close to being organic because we really take good care of our animals. We have wonderful animal welfare. The fan meat standards are really focused on that. What is the difference when I look at this as an organic farmer, when I start to convert? I cannot use any longer much of the feed that's available on the shelf at your local store because much of it is actually tainted or contaminated with GMO crops, be it maize or soy. So we have to look at alternatives. Some of these might be right on our own farms. I have utilized a lot of camel thorn pods, added that to my feed and my lick mixtures. And if you need to add protein, it needs to be plant-based. So the reality is if your animals are well adapted, they will utilize more bush and actually keep our bush encroachment also under control. Disease and parasite control, the more we integrate regenerative practices, good grazing management and rotation management of our areas that the animals are grazing on, you will have less and less issues with diseases because the life cycle of the parasites are simply broken. Chicken is a challenge here in Namibia just simply because we think that chicken only eat maize and sorghum and sunflower seeds, but a chicken eats pretty much anything. It's an omnivore. It eats meat residue. It eats scraps from my garden, and they produce beautiful eggs. I'm not quite there yet on my farm to produce organic eggs, but I'm working towards it. Manjo has actually also mentioned that there is a big need for organic feed for our chicken. This is something you can also do at home on a very small scale. To establish an organic herd or flock, you have to look at the life cycle of the cattle or the sheep. So we have to ensure that an animal is born to an organically raised mother. And we are basically having a closed herd. You can buy in genetics, but these animals, if you buy in a bull or a set of new heifers, these are not technically organic, but their offspring, their calves or the lambs will be organic managed and then thus organic certified. As the Namibian Organic Association, we're quite frequently faced with strange organic agriculture myths. And I want to quickly go through a couple of these. Traditional farming Traditional farming would be the way your father and your grandfather did it. Maybe they did it organically, but maybe not. We have to really take good care of our animals. We never want to be organic by neglect. You cannot control pests and diseases. As a matter of fact, you're required to do this. As an organic farmer, you have to abide by the principle of care and ethics. You have to take care of your animal. You have to control the pests to a degree where your animals will not suffer in production and lose fertility and lose body condition. And organic agriculture can only be done on a small-scale basis. You know what, the local garden at your house, at your yard, and your farm, or wherever you may be, the organic principles that you can apply there, you can actually scale them up to hectares and hectares of cropland. This can be done. There are many options available. Look at our website, noa.org.na, to get more facts on that. And last but not least, organic agriculture can feed the world. It's actually been the chemical-intensive agriculture that put the future of our human population at risk. So let's get back and learn from nature instead of try to teach it a thing or two.
Thank you so much for this insightful presentation. And I have a soft spot for farmers because you have the passion to feed the world, and I think the organic sector is one of really the one that Namibia we need to position. As you mentioned, I think there's a lot of element of the small scale, and we really need to speed that up to get into small scale agriculture moving so that we can sort of probably be more inclusive. Now, Manjo, you spoke about the market access, the factors of production, and then you came into the production processes and that on how to do organic agriculture. So Mareike, I'm moving to you. You are an organic certification expert. Very interesting. So once I have my land, once I know what to do, once I have the market, I actually need that certification to prove that I am indeed adhering to the processes, I am indeed a certified organic producer. Would you please take us through the process of how one knows it's organic, and what are the certification elements required to become an organic producer in Namibia or in the world or in Africa in general? To what extent? Please, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Maria. So I will talk about how do you know something is organic if you buy a product in the shop, and how can you become an organic producer, that it's verified that you're producing organic products, and then you can also use the organic claim to sell your products. So if you're in the shop and you look for an organic product, look for the certification marks. So here you see the one on the left-hand side is for the local market. It's the Namibian Organic Verified logo that is verified by the Namibian Organic Association. And then you also have international logos from international certification. The most prominent ones are the ones seen here. The green leaf is the EU standard. The jazz is from Japan, and USDA is from the United States of America. So these products, or products with these labels, are also sold in Namibia and would carry these marks, and that gives credibility to the organic claim. So why do we need certification? There are lots of products claiming to be organic if the word is not protected in that specific country, which is not the case in Namibia. And if you see a product in the shops saying organic, there's no verification that this is actually true. And the certification gives the credibility to that claim. So for example, there are several chicken products in Namibia, eggs or chicken meat, that claim to be organic, but then when you approach the producer and ask them why they think their product is organic, they say, yes, the chickens, they are ranging freely or have a very, very big yard, so that's organic production. But what they eat is actually just the normal feed from the store, which is definitely conventional and not organic, and as it mostly contains maize, the risk of genetically modified organisms is also very high. And some of these residues might end up in the product, so the consumer is expecting to buy a healthy product. Maybe they even have health issues and want to focus on organic production, but they still take in these residues. So if a product is carrying a certification mark, then that organic claim has credibility. And here, so on the last slide, you saw the Namibian logo and then the international standards. And here you see some examples of private standards, which are basically on top of the international standards with some more specific and more strict criteria, and then also some certifier marks that would ensure that the standards are adhered to. So there are different standards, as already mentioned, but all of these are based on the principles that Eckhart already mentioned of the principle of health, ecology, fairness, and care. In organic production, only a defined amount of inputs may be used, so it's not agrochemicals, but as Eckhart also mentioned, there's a variety of products that may be used. This also includes feed, so all the animals that are certified organic must receive organic certified feed, and the whole value chain has to be certified. So, for example, if you want to market an organic salami, it's not only the meat that's going into the salami that has to come from a certified farm, but it's also the processing, so that it's verified that there's no substitution of other meat, and actually the organic meat is going into the organic salami, and also all the ingredients have to be organic, and the processing aids have to be allowed. So in an organic salami that has been certified, you will not find MSG, for example, which is a quite critical processing aid. And in all the standards, there is a conversion period required for farmers that want to convert from conventional production to organic production, so that only after a period of 2 to 3 years the products can be sold with an organic claim, because then it is quite certain that the residues that might have built up in the soil from the conventional production have actually gone through cycles, and then the product really complies with the quality criteria that the consumer has. So if we now look at the local market, I mentioned the Namibian Organic Verified logo. This is a certification that's based on the international standards from IFOAM, and the system that's applied in order to verify the organic compliance is a participatory guarantee system. This system has been developed especially for small-scale farmers. It is a system based on transparency and participation, so a group of assessors goes to the operation, the producer or the processing site in order to verify that the standards are complied to. This is on the one hand, it will be trained assessors from the Namibian Organic Association, but also interested public is invited. These are the NOAA members. So NOAA is a member-based association, and if you're a member, you're invited to the assessments, and then you can actually go to the farms where you might buy the products from, and you can see how it is produced. You can ask the producer or also the other people that join the assessment for questions that you might have on the production system or on challenges that you experience in your own farm. So this is really a very nice learning experience or platform to ask questions. So everybody is very much invited to become a NOAA member. You will find the information on our website. And then you can join these assessments, which is always a very nice experience. So if you're now a producer that wants to get certified, that maybe you're already producing organic products and you want to be able to use the verification logo on your products, you're very much welcome to also have a look at the website and read the IFOAM standards which are published there, become a NOAA member. Then you can participate in the assessments of other producers, and you will see how the process works, what kind of documents are required, how the assessment is happening. And then you would fill in an assessment form which is then reviewed by the certification committee of NOAA, and then have an on-site assessment where NOAA assessors will join, and then also people from the membership base, so that you can also show your production, already maybe talk to some consumers, or the target market is then also aware of your production. If we now look at internationally marketed products, this requires third-party certification. So these are certification bodies that go through an extensive and expensive accreditation system. So their certification is, again, verified, and it gives credibility and also prevents fraud. So as you saw from what Manjo said, the market is growing drastically, so there's a lot of interest in joining these market opportunities, and that's why a certification scheme is important to have in order to make sure that the claim is actually truly adhered to, and that the farmers that are putting all the effort into learning about organic production, implementing them, really are the ones that are benefiting from the market opportunities. These logos you will also find in Namibia. It's mainly on imported products, but also some locally produced operations are using it for the local market as well as for the international market if they export to other countries. And if you're now a farmer that is thinking about getting certification for export markets, it's very important that you choose the relevant target market and then the relevant standard for that market. Of course, you can also be certified according to different standards, as they don't differ to a large extent. And it is very important that the whole production chain or the whole value chain is certified. So the exporter would get certified. They have to make sure that the product is coming from a certified processor. For example, if you now want to export certified beef, it has to be ensured that the abattoir is certified in order to make sure that there's no substitution and the organic meat is actually going to the organic export. The cattle have to be certified, and if they receive feed, this also has to be certified. And so the feed is produced on cropland, and all the inputs of course, have to comply with the standards. So this means that there need to be organic seeds, especially these are non-GMO, so you can't have GMO seeds in organic production. Pest and disease control products have to comply with the standards, and the soil fertility products also. And here, this is quite a specific thing, maybe also about Namibia, that here there's a lot of chicken manure products that claim to be organic, but they don't carry any verification from a certification body. And it has been found in several studies that a lot of chicken manure is containing glyphosate residues, which is the active ingredient of Roundup, for example. So with applying these products that claim to be organic, but they haven't been tested, they haven't been verified, you are at risk of applying glyphosate to your fields, which can, on the one hand side, has been proven in studies that it can decrease the yield, that it really has an effect that the plants don't grow as well, but it also gives the risk of that your products lose their organic status, even if you didn't know that you're applying this residue. So it really is a risk if somebody is claiming the organic status without verification of it. Yeah. So now I will finished.
Thank you so much for your presentation. To our audience members tuning in, I trust you took note of the organic certification process and what you need to become certified. And I hope my boss is also tuning because she has a keen interest in becoming an organic farmer like many other farmers in Namibia. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now moving to our next speaker, Ben, and we want to now look at the food security and nutrition. This obviously is a topic that is very critical, especially when it comes to Namibia, when it comes to the global community. We talk about food security. So now in Namibia, there has been increased effort to raise awareness on the importance of nutrition as well as food security, especially at the household level. From your perspective, Ben, would you please give us an overview of nutrition and food security landscape in Namibia, and how is that looking, and what do we aim to achieve? And yeah, just take it.
Sure. Thanks, Maria. So we spoke a lot about how food is being produced and so forth. So now it comes more to the human aspect of what does that food actually do to us in terms of the nutritional value. And that is why we talk about food and nutrition security. And just to put it in perspective, that we here in Namibia are definitely not alone. Namibia and also NAFSAN as a civil society alliance is part of a global network that's called the Scaling Up Nutrition Network, that is part of over 60 countries worldwide. And I think the global dimension of the need for organic and healthy food has already been highlighted. But what is nutrition? And this is where I wanted to first start off by giving a bit of an insight into the variety of aspects that fall under nutrition. So if we start at the top, maternal and child care, that is basically where life begins. From conception, as the child develops in the body, it's really important that we not only don't smoke, don't drink, but that we get sufficient nutrients in the body for the baby to develop, for the baby to come out, to breastfeed, to live a healthy lifestyle, to really for us as human beings to develop our full capacity. On the green side, food, agriculture, that's what we talked about, and also the diets, the healthy diets, the variety of food is really important. On the bottom, the health, the water, hygiene. So these are also aspects of the healthy environments, for instance. If you live in an area where you can't keep your food safe from certain contamination or dirt and stuff, then you develop diarrhea, and then you cannot take in as much healthy food as you would want to. The same for clean water as well. And the last piece may surprise some of us, social protection. It doesn't really directly has to do with nutrition, but it's touching on aspects of, are we really making sure that every Namibian or every person can afford food, can afford sufficient food? We have currently two different laws in Namibia. The one says you should breastfeed exclusively for the first 6 months, but then we have a labor law that says after 3 months of maternity leave you have to go back to work. So how do you match those two? So this is an area where what we call social protection, where we need to look at the laws and the broader societal context. What are the enablers for good nutrition or school feeding policies, etc. So this is a wide variety of areas where nutrition is important. But why is nutrition important for Namibia? And just as a very recent fact, exact figure is 24%, but a quarter of all children in Namibia are stunted. Stunted, what does it exactly mean? It was a new word for me 2 years ago as well. Some people think it just means you're shorter than you're supposed to be, and that is in a way true, but it's much more. So if you look, for instance, at a healthy, developed child and the brain as one of the important organs, on the left you see the healthy brain in a scan, and on the right you see a malnourished brain scan. And the same also if you look at it from this side, from a 3-year-old child that is normally developed and one that is extremely neglected or malnourished. So you can really see that the lack of nutrition in the early years, the constant lack of nutrition really has very negative effect, and that's why we often talk about the first 1,000 days. And that starts from conception until a child is 2 or 3 years old. And this is really something that is important for Namibia, not just for individuals or communities and families, but for country as a whole. And I want to point out that it really has economic effects. So in other countries like Ethiopia, for instance, the effects of stunting, of malnourishment, of undernourishment, really cost as much as 16% of the GDP. And that is a lot. So when we talk about investing in a highway between Windhoek and Okahandja or other road infrastructure development, that is important. That is important for the next decades to come. But at the same time, we also need to invest in what we call human infrastructure. So we need to invest really in the first 1,000 days of every Namibian. And this is important to understand because a stunted child will become a young malnourished girl that will be a malnourished mother. And if we don't break this cycle, then this cycle will continue. So if you are stunted in your lifetime, there's no way you can really get out of it If you're wasted, meaning you have for a certain period of time you don't have enough food, then you can nourish yourself again. But if you're completely stunted, you in your lifetime cannot overcome that. But for the next generation, you can overcome that. And that is really important for us to understand so that we really break that cycle. Which brings me to one of the most organic things you can do to your child, and that is to really exclusively breastfeed. And exclusively means nothing else but breast milk. In the first 6 months, half a year of your child's life, is to really give the child the best food and nutrition you can offer, and that is really breast milk. I recently read about a study that compared what we managed as human beings to reproduce as a formula, as an artificial formula for breast milk subsidy. And it's about 1/3 of all the ingredients that are in breast milk. And for all breastfeeding mothers, they will know that you can even apply breast milk if there's an open wound or something. It has extremely strong healing qualities and a lot of other benefits listed up there. It also does save money and lots of environmental benefits and so forth as well. So yeah, that is why, for instance, as part of nutrition education or nutrition activities, promoting breastfeeding is really one of the key things, with the key message or the key intention to invest in human infrastructure and to break that cycle of stunting that I mentioned earlier. Another area of nutrition that has become important this year is particularly in the times of COVID, when we realized, or when people started realizing the effect of a healthy diet or a balanced diet and good nutrition on our immune system. So this is, for instance, one of the information material we developed together with the ministry, with the UN partners and our academic members, UNIM and NUST, around nutrition and food safety during COVID. So it touches on a variety of different aspects that I mentioned, and it really, at the core of it, is a healthy diet. And colleagues before you mentioned that there are so many chemicals and other negative things in the normal food we eat in the supermarket. So there's really much more nutritional value in organic food, and that's why I'm really glad to be part of this conversation here. So more information like these flyers, for instance, you find them in 11 other Namibian languages translated on our website, freely accessible to download them as posters and as flyers as well. So, which brings us to what are we doing now? NAFSAN itself has just been established only this year, so we are a relatively young organization. And thanks to the support of the German government and GIZ, we are able to invest a lot in our own organizational development as an alliance. We are primarily not implementers of activities, but we really understand ourselves as an alliance, as an umbrella body for these type of organizations. It's civil society, it's the academia or research institutions, it's private sector companies, but it's also committed individuals like nutritionists or nutrition students or others who are particularly passionate about nutrition and food security in Namibia. So that is one of the aspects we are busy with this year, and thanks to a grant from the Scaling Up Nutrition Network, we're also engaged currently with the Shack Dwellers Federation of Namibia, as well as Ilolo Permaculture Initiative, in a project that starts here in Khomas in Windhoek, where we target 4 different communities with the combined permaculture, home gardening and nutrition project. So these are just some of the images where we believe everybody can go organic, and especially permaculture is a great approach to it. And if we add some nutrition education to it, our belief is that it will enhance the motivations of people to really grow organic, to eat healthy, and especially in times of COVID, to prevent sickness and potential death, but to have really long-term consequences on us as Namibians and a healthy nation. Which brings me to the last point that NAFSAN is busy with, and that is in collaboration with the government and different UN agencies to work on the Food and Nutrition Security Council. That is a government body organized or coordinated under the Prime Minister's office with very different ministries being represented, as well as UN agencies and NAFSAN, and that really has a coordinating function on national level, but also in the different regions. We are also about to present a revised or the new food and nutrition security policy, which will guide Namibia's development in areas of agriculture as well as health, nutrition. It works together with schools around food, child feeding policies and so forth, social protection mechanisms through the Ministry of Gender and so forth. So it's quite a comprehensive policy, but a policy alone is also not strong enough. So we have, or we are in the final phases as a team to work on an implementation action plan, which spans over 5 years. It is costed, so government also has committed funds for this. Government is highly aware of the need to invest in nutrition, and that's very much appreciated. And it's really important for the next 5 years to invest in nutrition, and I feel there is a strong link also between the nutrition aspects that I mentioned and the organic culture or agriculture. So having said that, I'd like to close with 3 key points that I feel are important towards nutrition. And that is just to explain the word malnutrition a little bit. Because oftentimes people think malnutrition means to not have enough food. And that's just one part of the story. Because, yes, malnutrition is undernutrition. That is what I mentioned earlier about stunting. And this is really why it's important that we breastfeed as a start in life, and also not just for mothers to be involved, but also for men to be involved in being supportive to breastfeeding mothers, but also workplaces. That we really have not just laws, but that we have a supportive private sector that offers breastfeeding spaces, that offers more time for women to really breastfeed, knowing the benefits that come out of it. The second form of malnutrition is what we call overnutrition. And that is where everybody may relate to the intake of sugar. I don't know how many teaspoons of sugar you put into your tea or coffee, but after 3 you basically cannot taste the difference anymore, and I would really recommend to reduce that, the direct intake of sugar, but also to be aware of where sugar is hidden in other things we consume, not only drinks, but also a full tablespoon of tomato sauce contains 1 teaspoon of sugar. So just to put that in perspective. And also the amount of fat that we cook with and so forth. So all of that is related to overnutrition, which leads to a lot of non-communicable diseases and so forth. And the third aspect, and that is relatively new, it has to do with what was earlier mentioned, something called micronutrients. And that is basically called hidden hunger. So that means we eat and eat and eat, but we don't eat the right food. So either we don't eat a variety of food, or we eat only chemically produced food that doesn't really add so much value to our human system. And this is, I think, a perfect throwback again to Mareike from the organic team to share maybe a little bit more around what those micronutrients are or how they are present in more organic food instead of the usual food we find in the supermarkets.
Thank you, Ben. Please go ahead.
So, yes, what Ben already mentioned is food is very important for our health. It can make sure that we stay healthy, and it also makes sure that we get healthy again if we have a disease or if we are sick. And organic food can really make a difference here yeah, compared to conventional food also. So, yeah, what Ben mentioned, there have been studies that showed that up to 40% more micronutrients are included in organic or are present in organic food compared to the same product conventionally produced. So it really addresses this topic of hidden hunger, even if not the same quantity is consumed, but the quality of the product is better, and therefore it can really address the problem of malnutrition in a different way than conventional food would. It is not containing as many cancer-causing or harmful substances because the agrochemicals are not allowed in organic production. So this is relevant for everyone, but especially also for breastfeeding or for babies, because these substances, they often collect in the breast milk. So if you're eating a lot of products that are, for example, maize meal has been produced from GMO crops which have been sprayed with Roundup that they are tolerant against, a lot of the glyphosate residues will still be in the maize, and that will, in a concentrated factor, will be given to the child through the breast milk. And if you consume organic products, it is really a benefit for yourself, but also for your baby, for your children. So if you now think about what can I do in order to be able to consume more organic products, in order to make use of this information that you got today. One thing is you can become an organic farmer. You can farm almost everywhere with some crops, even if it's just, as you saw in the picture of Ben, there was a tire where potatoes were grown in. Or you can cut open water containers, put some soil in, put a crop in that you can eat. Also, if you're large scale, you can start converting to organic. You can even start converting a small part of your operation first in order to see if it works or what the challenges might be that you still want to address before you want to convert the whole farm to organic. You can buy organic products. The variety is really increasing also in Namibia. And you can join NOAA. You can go to the website. You will be invited to the assessments. As I said before, you will get a lot more information on where to get organic products, how to grow organic products. And you're welcome to ask us questions. If you have any questions on how to produce organic food or where to get it or what the benefits are. Yes.
Thank you, Ben, for that very interesting presentation. Thank you, Mareike. I think tonight I will reduce my sugar intake. So I'll do tea and then tomato sauce. So maybe I'll do tomato sauce and then tea with no sugar. Okay,
balance it out.
Will that move me at least in a better, direction, right? Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are actually at the end of all our presentation, but now we are moving into engaging you and looking at the questions that you have posed to our speakers so that they can engage you and give you more clarity on what they have presented to you. We have a couple of questions here, and Manjo, I actually have some for you that I want to just give you, and then let me just read out all the questions that I have, and then maybe we can all think about it, and then the specific ones you answer, and then I'll give everybody a round of last final words to also maybe give some answers on the question if anybody missed anything. So the first one is, will it be possible to grow hemp seed and walnuts? Could be a supplement or replacement for milk? That's for you, for Manjo. What plans are in place to make organic seeds available? That's for anybody. And then Eckhart, the animal licks that we use, does these have an effect on the classification as organic? Compliment to the panel and question for Mareike. Interesting presentation and thanks for promoting this in Namibia. Just one question concerning monitoring. Does the association conduct monitoring to ensure that farmers are abiding to organic principles? Question for Manjo. If organic farming is cost-effective due to lower input costs and produce the same yield compared to conventional agriculture, why do consumers still pay a premium for organic products, and how long will there be a higher market price for organic products? I actually had the same question. And then also, Manjo, the last one here, regarding nematodes. How are you able to control them organically, and will the organic yield meet the chemical fertilizer yields? So those are some of the questions that we have received. There's another one actually here. I want to know how I can get involved in growing organic foods and market driving. So that's also for you. So those are some of our questions that we got through our Facebook interaction with our audience. And maybe I can also just add to Ben, if you can touch also a little on the school feeding, your experience and the nutrition that comes with the school feeding. So is it just feeding the child to have something energy, or is the incorporation of nutrition to address exactly what you're talking about? So maybe this is directly to you. So I'll hand over to you and then we'll go.
Yes, I think the first question was about producing hemp seeds and walnuts. If the question is, can you produce it organically? Yes, you can produce everything organically. Whether walnuts will grow in our environment, I'm not exactly sure. I'm not an expert on that. But yes, you can certainly produce the hemp organically. The second question was about nematodes, I think.
Yes.
How do you control it? So, yeah, nematodes is absolutely a nightmare for any farmer. And the important thing for organic agriculture, as Eckhart have explained, is good soil is the foundation of organic production. And in a good soil, you actually have a large diversity of microbes competing for food sources. So over time, when your soil actually improves, you should not have a major nematode problem because you have enough organic material in the soils, and all these microbes live happily ever after in the soil, sorting each other out. I know this is very, very simplistic, but this is really the ultimate objective that you want to achieve with an organic soil. However, it takes time to build up your soil. So there are excellent organic products, microorganisms, that you can use and can apply to the soil that are actually predators. So the predatory nematodes would actually consume the bad guys, and then that will bring about a balance in the soil. So it is not a quick fix like that. You need to build up the soil, you need to have an integrated approach, you need to have crop rotations, you need to have green manuring, working it into the soil, and things like mustard, and fumigate the soil. So there are different practices that you can use to control nematodes.
Okay.
And the last question I absolutely love. Why is organic food expensive? Well, if we look at one of the slides that I showed, there's a thing about true cost accounting. No? What is the real cost of food? So when we look at organic farmers, we look after the environment. Okay? We provide healthy food, and the consumers benefit from that. And we also look at conserving the natural sources, increasing biodiversity, etc. Okay, so this is everything that we do in any case as an organic farmer. So what do the agrochemicals actually do? If you look at the European situation at the moment, you can hardly get anywhere water that are not containing fertilizer residues or chemical residues. So the contamination takes place. The biodiversity is just hardly exists anymore. So there's a lot of environmental damage taking place and impact on our health. There are so many studies showing the impact of these cancer-causing agrochemicals, but we pay with that on our medical aid. That's separate. You know, we have this thing that's like, okay, vitamins, we get in a bottle. Yeah. Food must be as cheap as possible, but it's okay. Vitamins, the more expensive it is, the better it is. And then also medical bill, yeah, we accept that's always expensive, so, but we don't want to invest in quality food. So my question is organic food expensive, or shouldn't the chemical food actually be a lot more expensive if you look at all the environmental and health damages it causes? So that is the one argument. The other argument is, let's say, like, over time, it takes really a lot of investment for an organic farmer to build up the soil. Once you've built up your soil, then your inputs will be a lot less and your effort in that. And if you have a mixed farming system with animals and crops, it's a lot easier to achieve that, but it takes time. It's not like organically like this, you know, after a month or so. So during that period, it is certainly more expensive to produce organic because you have to invest in the environment. However, then later it becomes less. And then there's also the third component about supply and demand. People want organic food. They are prepared to pay for it. You can often see on Saturday mornings on the organic bio market, when the organic strawberries are there, it's really interesting to see the fight about that, who's grabbing the first organic strawberries, because people know that the other strawberries are really a lot of fungicides and things like that. So organic strawberries, you know, it's not even a matter of price, it's about who gets the first thing. So, yeah, the more there is available, it will also have an effect on the prices. But I hope that answers the question. Yeah. And also, just to the audience, there's on Nature and More is an excellent study about the true cost of food and how that has actually influenced the EU in re-looking at agricultural subsidies, because the cost of removing pesticide and fertilizer residues out of the environment is really expensive. So they decided, no, let's rather motivate producers to go organic or look at the biodiversity, because it costs a lot less than removing all the chemicals out of the environment.
Thank you. And I think just the last one that you should look at is what plans are in place to make organic seeds available?
Oh, I'll leave that for Mareike.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's the input expert.
Okay, let's go to Eckhart.
Yes, that question about the licks is really one of the integral issues that I had to deal with as I converted my livestock keeping to organic. And we need to provide the necessary trace elements and micronutrients to our animals to perform. And we usually do that over the licks. So licks usually contain one of the following things. One of them is salt, rock salt in some form or manner, or rough salt. So that is allowed as a part of your lick. Then the second thing that Namibian farmers love to use in the dry period of the year during the winter would be urea, or non-protein nitrogen. That is a synthetic chemical that is not allowed in organic agriculture. The animals are usually dealing with it quite well if you remove it. Yes, you may have a little less growth in the dry period, but if you work with adapted animals, it is no longer an issue. My animals are in good body condition right now. They are not suffering. They're still fertile, so you will not have a decrease. But it takes time, and you have to work with adapted breeds. Then another part is usually how to add energy to your lick mixtures. So up to 20% for the Namibian organic standard, up to 20% of the lick or feed that we give to our animals is allowed to be conventional, as we say, or let's say it's non-organic. For the international standards, there are other rules, but for Namibian organic, up to 20% are allowed if they're produced non-organic. However, they may not be genetically modified organisms. So no GMO is allowed whatsoever when I produce livestock organically. And that is pretty much it, I think. I mean, a lot of farmers, this is one of these things that I sometimes laugh about. Our weekend farmers, you know, on Friday, they really are hurting to get back to the farm, and they have a really bad conscience. And so they go to the store and load up their Land Cruisers with a lot of feed. They have a lot of pellets in there and take them back to the farm so they can treat the animals for being away from their loving owner for 5 days. The reality is your animals probably will prosper better if you let them feed what's on the farm. They get used to it. The microbiology in their rumen actually adapts quite well to what is available. Your animals will actually really prosper when they start using bush. The root system of a bush, for example, has access to nutrients that are not available in grass plants. So our cattle and sheep are really able to utilize what's growing on Namibian soils. Yeah. Utilize it, and you will be well off. Over time, over the last 5 years, my bill for purchase in feed has reduced dramatically. Nowadays, I drive in with a full car to town and go home with an empty car. Wow. So if that's not motivating, I don't know what is.
No, it's definitely motivating, and I think we should have a session for the weekend farmers.
Indeed, yes.
Thank you, Mareike. I think for you, it's 2 questions. The seed, organic seeds availability, And then as well as does the association conduct monitoring to ensure that farmers are abiding to organic principles?
Okay. So if we look at the seed question first, NOAA is engaged with the ministry, and we have gotten confirmation that it is possible to import organic seeds. So there can be an exception from the requirement of only importing treated seeds, because organic seeds may not be treated with chemicals. So it is possible to import organic seeds. The production within Namibia is still very limited. There are some vegetable producers that save seeds, and through NOAA there has been some seed exchange. So this is more for a small scale to medium scale vegetable producer, but we can facilitate that. And yeah, the large scale producers are very welcome to get certified and then provide seed to other producers. So that is also a good marketing or market opportunity within Namibia. Yeah, I hope that answers the seed question.
Yes, yes, clear.
And then
Maybe I can just come in with that. We get a lot of questions about GMO seeds, whether this vegetable and that vegetable, you know, and if the packets in the supermarkets, if that is okay to buy. They are just chemically treated. It's not GMO. So you would know when you buy GMO seeds, because you have to sign a contract, and in Namibia you can't do that out with the regulatory approvals, etc. So it's only maize and soya and cotton that really use GMO. So all the other vegetables, that's okay. The chemical treatment around the seed, that's not a crisis. It's hybrid. A lot of that is actually hybrid seeds. And but whether it's now heirloom or hybrid or open pollinated seeds, it's not genetically modified. So I think the audience just needs to be aware of that. It's okay. They can buy those packets.
Thank you.
so yes, the hybrid seeds, they can't be propagated for seed saving.
Yeah.
And now the monitoring. Yeah. So in all the certification schemes, whether it is NOAA or whether it's international standards, there's the provision. Of course, every certification is only granted after an on-site inspection or assessment. There's never just from paperwork saying, okay, this farm is producing organic products. So there's always an on-site inspection that is happening once a year, where the organic methods are verified. And then there's also the opportunity for unannounced inspections. So this is mainly risk-based. If there's a farm where it's seen during the annual inspection that there might be a risk that prohibited inputs are used or that the rules are not really complied to, then unannounced inspections are carried out where the assessor from NOAA or an international inspector would come to the farm, just rocks up and says, okay, I would like to check this and this point, and I would like to visit this and this building in order to see is there any inputs stored that are not allowed, or whatever the question is where the risk is based around. So that is the monitoring system. Okay. And then, for international products, then there also, if you want to import into the EU, there always has to be a certificate with the shipment where the certifier says that this is coming from the farm.
Just before we move from your are we exporting organic products, vegetables?
Moringa is one of the big export hits, and currently for Namibia we have a lot of moringa producers that have gone through the expense and the effort to produce moringa organically, and they have a wonderful product. There's a huge demand overseas for for organically produced moringa. The health benefits are well known. Yep. It's also quite of interest to local livestock producers, because moringa can also be used to feed your livestock when times are getting tough during dry seasons. Yeah.
And looking at the Namibia setup, looking that we are not 100% organic market, the supply chain, is there a threshold to say, yes, your input production qualifies you 80% to be organic, or is it 100%?
If you want to export, it has to be 100%.
Okay. But to get to be organic, you have to be 100%, or do you have a threshold depending on your input? Looking at the fact that the supply chain is not 100% organic, right? You might experience, looking at the way we are, it's not like everybody's organic. So there's always this question to say, as you mentioned, we don't know, is this organic? Yes, there's a label, but is there a threshold? It's just 100%. You must just 1, 2, 3, otherwise nothing.
Well, I think if you carry the organic certification, you're 100% organic.
Okay.
If you have a self-claim, you decide I'm organic, Okay, my salami is organic,
Okay.
but I didn't know MSG should not be allowed, and the fat comes from animals that
neighbor.
are no. Okay, no, that's not organic. It's a self-claim. That doesn't mean it's real organic. So when you are certified, everything is organic. The whole value chain is organic.
Okay.
Okay,
Awesome.
so yeah.
Okay.
And there's no reason why it should not be organic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I want to add one more thing to the cost of getting organic product to the consumer. Because the entire value chain has to be certified and the huge accreditation costs to get certified, these are being borne by the farmer or some part of the value chain. In order for the consumer to not have to worry, is this organic or not? Is this a self-claim or is this certified organic? Once you have the mark on there, there has been a lot of effort put into this. A lot of people have gone through the expense and the time and the effort to prove, yes, it is organic. That adds cost, but it also adds assurance to the consumer that they don't have to worry about it anymore when feeding themselves or their child.
No, thank you so much. Ben?
Yeah, on the school feeding, I think I'd like to respond in 3 parts. The first is to say that school feeding is important, yet what is almost even more important is the period of the child growing up before school. So oftentimes we focus on school feeding, but we forget what I said earlier about the first 1,000 days. And there's a really good resource out there. It's called Right Start. It's a campaign currently in Namibia. rightstart.com.na is the website. They have lots of resources around, especially the first 1,000 days. So even before you think of school feeding, rightstart.com.na really is one of the key resources to look into. So sorry, kind of to indirectly start answering that question.
Yeah.
I'm not really an expert on the actual school feeding schemes itself. I just know that the ministry is in close collaboration with the World Food Programme and other UN agencies to really make sure that what is part of the school feeding program is of high or as high as possible nutritional value. And I think it's also then a question of what is affordable and how much nutritional value can be added into the food. I think the reality is that it's not as diverse, meaning there's not enough variety of food in the school feeding schemes as there should be. And that leads me to the third point, which is the aspect of school gardens. And I mentioned earlier that we are currently, or the Namibian government with its partners, it's finalizing the food and nutrition security policy. Also the action plan, part of the action plan is to increase the number of school gardens that we have. But government, even with the best support, can only do as much. It really needs the whole community, parents, teachers, kids, like a whole school community to be involved, to have ownership of the school gardens, and even during the school holidays to have parents or other community members to really have that ownership of the garden. So there is no one fixes all solution, but I feel and this is where communities really have to come together and where civil society plays a big role to really make sure that we use the opportunities we have to really make sure that we're all healthy and well.
No. Thank you very much. We have unfortunately run out of time. Very interesting discussions, but I just wanted to maybe highlight some two seconds. Somebody's saying there are a number of people without internet access. Does your project have a way of reaching these individuals? And then the final one, which we really don't need to get into, maybe just acknowledge, is why should we import seed while we have traditional methods of saving seeds? Why don't we capacitate these individuals to save more seeds and certify them as seeds producers? So maybe think about that, and then we could look at how we can incorporate that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of the second session of the Bank Windhoek Agriculture Series. I want to thank all my speakers that have joined me here today. It was very insightful. Thank you very much. For those of you who have not who joined late, actually, or know anyone who could not join us for this session, there is good news. You can access the discussion on organic agriculture and nutrition and food security via the Bank Windhoek YouTube channel. So the link will be up and you can rewatch this and go back and even take some notes and see how you can do your certification. As mentioned to you earlier, this is a 4-part series and we will continue tomorrow morning at 8 with our next discussion, focus on agriculture economics and marketing. Our speaker for this session will be Ms. Emily Abraham. She's a manager at the Namibia Agronomic Board, and she will be sharing more on the horticulture market development, how that works. We again would like to thank our partners, the GIZ, the Namibia Nature Foundation, and the Namibia Organic Association, NOAA. So the NOAA's Ark, we must all get into the boat before it leaves us behind. From me, Marie Emmanuel, have a great evening, and I look forward to your company tomorrow morning for our next session. Thank you so much. 8:30 tomorrow morning, so please tune in, whoever can. Otherwise, goodbye for now, and thank you so much. I'll be becoming an organic farmer, but a backyard one. I'll start small.
That's perfect.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much to everybody who tuned in.